Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the meeting of the Tulare County Board of Supervisors. This is the time and place for our meeting today. Thank you for accommodating the World Ag Expo, which has been off to a great start already in Tulare. Please join me now in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. We'll be led today by Supervisor Shucklian. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. All right, we'll take up item 1 on our agenda today, which is Board of Supervisors matters, and I'll go to the far right on this board, and that's Supervisor Townsend.
We'll take that double entendre. And yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So on Thursday the 6th, I went over and attended the Census Complete Count Committee over in Porterville. They have a separate committee over there, and so we had some good updates, including the clarification from TCAG about the mini grants, and so that was very helpful for several of the organizations over there. And also on the 6th, we had our East Tule Groundwater Sustainability Agency meeting and discussed all of the groundwater sustainability plan is in, the agreements are all submitted as well, so we're set there. So now working on the nuts and bolts. I see David DeGroot there, and he's working on them very diligently right now, starting to talk about things that go above everybody else's head, but we're going to catch up and figure it out. So on the 7th, I met with the New Porterville Rescue Mission. They're operating a homeless shelter there in Porterville, having some issues, and so trying to help them kind of with my architectural background, and then also trying to sort of let them understand what the city is needing to meet codes. So just trying to keep that facility open as part of the effort to address homelessness in the area. And then last night, we had the pleasure of attending the Southern California Gas Customer Appreciation Dinner here at the Convention Center. Another really nice dinner, and really interesting just to listen to what's going on in that industry, and trying to balance the way that we meet the energy needs of the area in the future, to balance that between some sustainable natural gas as well as electricity. And that approach was just the way that was presented last night was a very, very interesting. And so looking forward to good things, exciting, innovative things happening in that industry. And then this morning, of course, we all went to the World Ag Expo, to the opening ceremonies, and enjoyed that, seeing the E.M. Tharp scholarships being given out, the top 10 innovations, including, I saw everybody's eyebrows raised when they talked about the facial recognition for dairy cows. That's interesting. I was just wondering if everyone said, okay, there's Betsy, and there's a Betsy, and there's Betsy. So they all kind of look alike, but apparently they can tell them apart, and so they've got that happening. Really impressed with Zippy Duval's speech this morning, the president of the U.S. Farm Bureau. It was a great speech, a great presentation honoring farmers, all those working in ag, a very interesting take on how farmers and ag workers contribute to the freedoms that we see in this country. I thought that was great, and he tied it in with his son's service in the military, and even ended off with a great challenging scripture from Proverbs 12:24, the hand of the diligent will rule. And he didn't finish that, but the rest of it, I looked it up, the rest of it was, but the laziness will end in forced labor. So that was the end of that proverb. And so that was pretty cool. I thought that he ended with that, a very, very good speech. Tomorrow, going to come over and meet with Daniel Richardson, our GSA director, touch base a little bit, and then a little bit later with Peg Yates with IT. And then heading back over to Harmony Magnet Academy for an advisory board with the engineering students over there, engineering teachers for the engineering students there. And then Thursday, have a meeting with Californians for Energy Independence, mostly centering around some of the things going on in Kern County, but just to help lend a voice to that, to again maintain our energy independence, be able to continue to do what's being done with petroleum in our area. And then Friday, I'll be giving a greeting at the Farm Worker Resource Fair over in Porterville at Santa Fe Elementary School in the morning. It's kind of a most of the day thing, but I was able to give that last year, and I'll give another greeting on Friday. And I will not forget, I already did plan, I actually over-planned for Valentine's dinner with my wife, so we got it down because now it's going to be in Fugazi's opening in Porterville. So now Porterville has a Fugazi's, so we're coming up in the world over there. And that's about all I have for now.
All right, Supervisor Crocker.
Thank you. Last week, I was able to host another town hall at the Farmersville Senior Center, and last week I thank staff for doing that in Lindsay, and I again just want to thank staff for putting that on and for everyone that was in attendance. It was another good crowd, and appreciate the ability to interpret for many folks that were there. This Thursday is our first ever Veterans Advisory Committee meeting, and I'm really looking forward to that and figuring out how we can better serve our veterans in our county and making sure that they're taken care of. This Saturday, I won't belabor this because I know one of my colleagues is going to be having an active role, but Visalia Rotary is honoring and roasting Mayor Bob Link, and I hope Supervisor Shucklian brings her A game like she always does for the little guy. And yeah, coming from me, that's pretty bad. February 19th, I've got a RCRC Executive Committee meeting in Sacramento. February 20th is our San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District monthly meeting. The 21st is our San Joaquin Valley Insurance Authority meeting in Fresno. The 22nd is Exeter Chambers Annual Dinner. 23rd, TCAG, we're having our monthly meeting in Woodlake. And then also on the 23rd is the East Cahuilla Groundwater Sustainability Agency meeting where we're be going over some additional water issues. That's all I have.
All right, Supervisor Valero.
Great afternoon, Tulare County. So last week, I met with Lori Wilson, the Executive Director of the Red Cross for this area, Madera, Tulare, as well as Fresno. She shared some of her exciting community service projects with me and hopes we can participate in the annual event, Sound the Alarm. This event, usually held in April, gathers volunteers with the effort of installing free smoke alarms throughout our various communities. I attended the Danny Blaine Real Estate ribbon cutting last Thursday. It was so great to see this company celebrate such an awesome milestone and to recognize Danny and her team for their compassion and love for Tulare County. That evening, I traveled to Ivanhoe to attend the Keller Farm Bob's World Governing Board meeting. Bob McKellar is working hard to bring a family and children's experiential learning environment to the Seven Sycamores area. So he plans to have something similar to Casa de Fruta, where out in the kind of the Los Baños areas, but having something here locally to support the youth and education. I also attended the Night to Shine event at Visalia First. For those of you that may not know what Night to Shine is, that event is an unforgettable prom night experience for people with special needs, ages 14 and older. I volunteered last year and had to do it again this year because it was just that amazing. And so it celebrates its 6th year. As shared with me, on one night, 721 churches from around the world come together to host Night to Shine for approximately 115,000 honored guests through the support of 215,000 volunteers. I also had the opportunity to run across town that evening and speak with members of the American Legion Sierra Post 785. Although I was there to attend what I thought was a bingo night, turned into me getting there as an official meeting was taking place, and then being told that I was a guest speaker that evening. So, but no worries, it all went well. I will share that this weekend I also had the opportunity to go to Easter Rosie. Right now we are in transition from Self-Help Enterprise to the county running the bottled water program. And so I was out there just trying to encourage our residents to send in their applications. Either they just have chosen not to based on some information on their forms, but we were able to really safely have that communication with the residents to make sure that what they were turning in was correct, as well as that it was going to go to the county and they were going to get and are going to get water. So there's been a little bit of a hiccup here and there, but hopefully all will be successful by the end of this week. The Knights of Columbus Annual Public Safety Night was on Saturday, and it was a great success. So congratulations to all the award winners. I know that we had several from the county recognized, TCSO Deputy Luis Araju, as well as TCFD Fire Department Lieutenant Tim Franks, Visalia Fire Department Captain Ray Ramirez, CHP Officer Frank Freeman, TCDA, the the DA's office is Candace Moore, Deputy DA, and then the VPD Officer Tim Hayner. I also attended the Tulare County Law Library meeting yesterday. We approved renovations to the space with new carpet and wall painting, along with new furniture. And then that evening I attended, along with Supervisor Townsend, the SoCal Gas Customer Appreciation Dinner. I have the Audit Committee meeting with Supervisor Vanderpool on Thursday, along with a town hall meeting in Badger. So I'm looking forward to the mountain community and being able to hear of their concerns, as well as things that they'd like to see as resources from the county. And so thank you to the various departments that will be there to talk about their services and resources. And then I will be speaking at the Self-Help Enterprises Sequoia Commons Apartment Complex grand opening in Goshen on Friday. And then the following week also includes meetings and events such as the Visalia Rescue Mission Empty Bowls event, the Moody Walnut Dryer Steak Luncheon, a meeting with former Mayor Ashley Swearengin to learn more about the Fresno Drive Initiative, and then along with participation in the Lions Club speech contest for Dinuba Lions, with their this year's topic being homelessness in California, what is the solution? And with that, that's all I have.
I'm interested to hear what you do at the steak luncheon, Eddie. That's going to be an interesting thing. Go ahead, Supervisor Shucklin.
They have a nice salad there,
Yeah.
always. Yes, so last week, the 6th, Chairman Vanderpool and myself, along with our CAO, Dr. Britt, participated in the interview. Our Public Health Department went through an accreditation process through the Public Health Accreditation Board. There was 3 surveyors here for 3 days, Karen, 3 days, and they interviewed, I think, over 35 staff, and I think things went well from what I've heard, but we won't know until June how that goes. But I have a lot of faith in the work of all of our staff that we will glide through to accreditation. I, too, attended the Public Safety Night. It was the 37th Annual Knights of Columbus Public Safety Night, and that's always a good event to attend. On Sunday, I, along with our GSA Director, Daniel, attended the Public Affairs Committee for the Church of Latter-day Saints here in Visalia, and they have, part of that is of a group they call Just Serve, and so they just wanted to find out ways that they may be able to serve Tulare County in volunteering, whether it's in our parks. They really wanted to know a lot about how they could help serve with our homeless issues. So I thought that was really nice that folks in the community and our faith-based communities want to get more involved. Yesterday was our Health Advisory Committee meeting, and we had a really good update from Randy Dodd, who is the president of Adventist Health Tulare, and things are going very well there. They're getting back up to speed. I think they've had 100. They've opened their OB obstetrician, and I think they've had 100 deliveries since they've opened that back up. So they're slowly getting back up to speed. So that was good to hear, because access to health care in Tulare County is very important. So Thursday I have my Animal Services Advisory Committee meeting, and then after that I will be getting a tour of Eden House, which is a project. It's a 22-bed bridge housing project that's a collaboration with self-help enterprises, the county, the city of Visalia. I think maybe Kauai Delta might have a little piece of that, but just a lot of local entities. So it's another housing project that will help us to make a dent in the homeless issue. So I'm looking forward to that. I too have been invited and will be attending the Sequoia Commons ribbon cutting. It's 66 affordable units, and 5 of those units also have been dedicated and will already house 5 of our previously homeless individuals in Tulare County. And then, as Kyler said, I will be part of the roast on Mayor Bob Link, and so I need to meet with you about some short jokes. So, and that's all.
All right, thank you, Supervisor. A few items that I wanted to go over. Yesterday I had a meeting of the Greater Kauai Groundwater Sustainability Agency, and obviously with the plans submitted to DWR, we are now in the process of waiting to hear back based upon their review. We did talk about the Prop 218 process and what it's going to take to raise fees and funds from landowners, stakeholders, one, in order to fund ongoing operations, but two, to help the founding entities who fronted money to get this started to be reimbursed, and that includes a significant reimbursement to the county for the upfront monies that we have put into that body and that effort. We had a water commission yesterday where Ross from the Resource Management Agency, Ross Miller, gave a presentation about Tulare County's flood preparedness. And you may ask, well, why is that important this year? Given we've had such a dry year, it's important always to be ready for floods and what heavy precipitation can bring, as we saw in both Strathmore and along the Kings River last year. So appreciate the efforts that RMA is undertaking there. Speaking of flood, we see an opposite down in the community of Teviston right now. I wanted to thank the state of California as well as OES here locally for their efforts, as the community's well has gone down and they are now only consuming and having available to them bottled water. So hopefully that well gets back up online very soon for that community. The opening ceremonies went very well today at the World Ag Expo. Be ready for over 100,000 visitors to come through the community of Tulare and the World Ag Expo during this 3-day event. Very successful, but very busy in Tulare County. I will be cooking in the Women in Ag tent tomorrow with Chef Robert from Chateau du Sirop, the best thing that France has contributed to the United States, in my opinion. They only gave us the name. Anyways, then we also have First 5 Technical Advisory Committee meeting this Thursday at 9 o'clock at the First 5 offices. That will be followed up by the Tulare County Audit Committee. We'll be having our supposed to be quarterly meeting. We've had a few scheduling conflicts, but we have that this Thursday at 10. Looking forward to that meeting. There's also a water forum that is being hosted by Congressman Nunes and Congressman McCarthy next week at the Heritage Complex in Tulare. Should be a great event there as well. Leadership North Tulare County will be having their, I believe, County Day on February 20th at 10:30 in the morning. I look forward to participating in that. Thank you, Supervisor Valero, for that opportunity. The sheriff will be having their annual branding event at his farm up in the Bob Wiley Complex on February 20th at 11:30. And then lastly, the San Joaquin Valley Insurance Authority will be having its monthly or semi-monthly meeting on February 21st at 9 a.m. in Fresno. That concludes all of the items that I have. Unless any of my colleagues want another bite at the apple, we will move on to take up item number 2 on our agenda today, which is public comments. I have numerous requests from members of the public to comment under public comment. I do have several requests for items that are on the consent calendar. I will remove those from that once that is considered. So if your name isn't called right now, don't worry about it. I will be getting to you. First request comes from a highly esteemed individual who is a county employee and does economic development. His name is Mike Washam. Mike, please come forward. You have a public comment request. I know it's a surprise to you, like me. I know he was sleeping standing up.
Well, no, I'm surprised because who Who volunteered me to make a public comment?
It says that
Maybe
you
you're
have a
looking at
topic
last-
of tourism.
That was last week.
Oh, okay, thanks, Mel. Okay, great, so.
I thought I saw her at the beer garden.
Okay, so thanks, Mike. We appreciate that comment. Now we'll move on to the next request I have from Pamela Silva. Please come forward, state your name and address.
Hello, my name is Pamela Silva. I am from Visalia. I'm just here to let everybody know that here we are 20 days away from the election, and I'm getting reports from people that their ballots, their sample ballots, do not have a polling place on them. So it's been admitted. The county registrar is aware of what's going on, but I wanted everybody here to know that this is a pretty large mistake. I was collecting signatures to recall Gavin Newsom, and a family of 3 came up and said that they don't have a polling place and that they actually received vote-by-mail ballots, and that's being looked into. And then just today, a family of 2, the Oldenburgs, Mercedes and Joseph, they said they had the same problem. So the family of 3 was from Tulare, and the Oldenburgs are from Visalia, so it's not a zip code thing. So I just wanted everybody to know that this printer does have previous problems with errors, and if we could look in the future to see if maybe there's a better way to do things, if it's our database we're giving them, or if they're actually having printer problems. And, maybe we could look at it in the future so that this problem doesn't happen again in our county. Thank you, that's it.
Thank you for those comments. Is there any additional public comment this afternoon? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment period and now take up the consent calendar. First item that we will take up, since I have to step out, don't have to, I'm voluntarily stepping away from this item. Item 4 on the consent calendar is a request to appoint Allie Vanderpool, my sister, to the Health Advisory Committee, and I am just going to step out for the complete appearance of public perception, but there's no financial conflict here. I just want to make sure that that is a clean step back. So Supervisor Strickland, would you please proceed?
And you probably would have voted no anyway, right? All right, so on item number 4, do I have a motion? Okay. Cast your votes, please. Okay, motion passes 4-0 with Supervisor Vanderpool. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. We also have a request to remove item 7 for separate consideration, so we will take that up following the approval of the balance. We also have agenda items 14 and 18. We will pull those for separate consideration because I have a public comment request related to those. Are there any additional items from members of the public or members of the board that need to be removed from the consent calendar? If not, the chair will entertain a motion.
Move approval of the remainder of the consent calendar.
Have a motion by Supervisor Shuckley and a second by Supervisor Valero. Please vote. All right, motion passes 5-0 unanimously. Thank you very much. We will now take up item number 7. Item 7, I have a public comment request from Ryan Jensen to comment on this item.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. My name is Ryan Jensen with Community Water Center based here in Visalia, and I'm here to support the county's letter of support for the consolidation and annexation of East Arosi Community Services District into Arosi Public Utilities District. I have been working in the community of East Arosi for a little over 2 years, and I can say that the vast majority of residents in that community definitely support this consolidation. A little background is that the State Water Board issued a notice of intent to to provide a mandatory consolidation of these two water districts in July of 2018, and that opened a 6-month period for a voluntary consolidation. Nearly 2 years have passed, and we're still waiting. So I think it's pretty clear at this point that a voluntary consolidation is not going to happen, and the only way to move this forward and get safe drinking water for the community of East Arosi is for the State Water Board to move forward with issuing an order for that consolidation. I think that this can be supported moving forward by ongoing local support on the governance issue, which would be the question of annexation. But what the State Water Board has the authority to do is to order the physical consolidation of the two districts. So like I said, we've been working with residents in both communities. There's widespread support in both communities for this consolidation project, and it's been barriers at the level of the two local water boards that have not been able to make significant progress towards a voluntary arrangement, which is why we strongly support the county's letter of support to the State Water Board to issue a consolidation order. Thank you.
Great, thank you for those comments. Next, I have a request from Nadia Medina.
Buenas tardes,
Good afternoon.
mi nombre es Nidia Medina,
My name is Nidia Medina.
soy miembro de la Voz de Vecinos Unidos.
I am part of a CBO named La Voz de Vecinos Unidos,
Un grupo comunitario formado por miembros de Estorosi, Orosi, Caller, Dinuba y otras comunidades a la redonda.
Oops. One second. I am part of a community-based organization formed by members of East Orosi, Orosi, Calder, Dinuba, and other communities around the area.
Hoy estoy aquí para agradecerle al apoyo a la mesa de supervisores
Today I'm here to thank the Board of Supervisors
para ayudar a la comunidad de Estorosi
for
a tener agua limpia y sana.
helping the community of East Orosi to have clean water.
Todo ser humano debería tener ese derecho.
Every human being should have this right.
Gracias y esperamos su apoyo.
Thank you, and we look forward to your support.
Thank you. Next, I have a request from Blanca Escobedo.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. My name is Blanca Escobedo. I'm a policy advocate for Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability. I wanted to pull items 14 and 18 from the consent calendar to express our concerns for the statutory exemption for the Cal Bio Dairy Bio.
I'm sorry, I called you up. I thought yours was, I misread you as being for item 7. If you could wait while we finish item 7, that was my bad. I apologize on that, Blanca. And I do have a board member request for some comments related to item 7, but are there any additional public comments on item 7? Okay, Supervisor Valero.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm here today to also express my concern with regards to the issues that are happening in East Orosi. And so this letter is being brought before the dais in order to encourage the state to go about the consolidation efforts. And so I know that what was presented to you in review, I actually wanted to make some additions to, and so hopefully you can approve as amended. And so I just wanted to go very briefly, and it's pretty quick. So the first line would be Tulare County Board of Supervisors supports the consolidation and annexation of East Orosi Community Service District. Why? Because consolidation is through the state and annexation is jurisdictional. So again, just including the word consolidation and annexation. And that would be the same for the last sentence in that paragraph. Thus, a consolidation and an annexation will provide a more linear governance structure for wastewater as well. And then right on the last paragraph, last sentence, an annexation will provide the best solution for governance of the consolidated water system. I would also like to include a sentence that reads, Tulare County is committed to working towards an annexation to provide the best solution possible. And then ending that paragraph with this sentence, therefore, we urge the State Water Resource Control Board to issue the consolidation order without further delay. And that is all I would have for any updates, and hopefully it could be approved as amended.
Okay. Any comments from any supervisor related to those changes to the letter? Members of the public? Okay. Seeing none, Chair will, yep, go ahead. Sure. You're going to need a microphone. That thing was pointed straight to the sky.
All right. Did you mean for the last sentence to say that we urge the State Water Control Board to issue the annexation?
Or the consolidation order.
Only?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If there's nothing further, I will entertain a motion at this time. Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Shucklian. A second by Supervisor Townsend. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, now, my apologies, Blanca, we will take up your items you requested to be pulled, items 14 and 18, and you can now make your comments.
Okay. So like I said, I'm a policy advocate for Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability, and I'm here to express our concerns for the requested exemptions of a statutory exemption for Cal Bio Dairy Biogas Upgrading Facility in Goshen, and a categorical exemption for the ErgoStech Renewable Energy Solutions Project in Lindsay. We believe that neither the statutory nor the categorical exemption is available for either of these projects. Accordingly, approval of a statutory exemption for the biogas upgrading facility or an approval for the categorical exemption for the ErgoStech project would be inconsistent with CEQA and the Tulare County zoning ordinance and subject to legal challenge. Both of these projects must proceed through a proper environmental review process and ensure that all environmental impacts are considered and adequately mitigated. In regard to item number 14, Cal Bio Dairy upgrading facility, the Tulare County contests that the upgrading facility is exempt from CEQA review because A, the application at issue is for a building permit, and B, the proposed project is allowed by right in M2 zones. Applications for dairy permits are only exempt if the issuing agency has no discretion with respect to the issuance of a permit. Contrary to statements made in the staff report and notice of exemption, the biogas upgrading facility is not allowed by right, according to the Tulare County zoning code available on the webpage. Additionally, we see no indication that the use is allowed by right according to the Goshen Community Plan. On the contrary, if the use is allowed at all, it is subject to a special use permit as a gas manufacturing facility and or a manure processing and storage. So since the gas upgrading facility is not allowed by right, the statutory exemption is not available. While there is no information available about the potential environmental impacts of the project, we are aware that the upgrading facility and associated activities can have significant impacts to air, groundwater, and surface water quality, and also emit greenhouse gases in addition to air contaminants. So environmental review of this and similar projects is critical to the health and well-being of Tulare County residents and is mandated by law. In regard to this item number 18, the ErgoStech project, the categorical exemption requested by the county for is not consistent with CEQA. The proposed changes to the olive growers wastewater plant is going to significantly alter the wastewater facility into a fuel production plant. The project will include a laboratory and an administrative office. Modifications to the plant include centrifugal pumps, storage tanks, an electric chiller, buffer solutions tanks, dosage pumps, an anaerobic digester, compressors, a sulfide remover filters, etc. So the purpose of this project is to create biohydrogen, a new purpose for this facility. These changes and expansions to the property and expansion to its use do not fall within the categorical exemption available for the simple replacement and reconstruction of utility systems and or facilities. CEQA is a critical tool to ensure that the development occurs with full consideration of the community. And can I have like 30 more seconds?
Yeah, you can go ahead. I mean, we have your letter that has everything. If you have any comments in summary, please go ahead and continue.
Okay. We request that both of the exemption requests, we request that these exemption requests be denied and a full environmental review be considered, so that communities and impacted stakeholders have the opportunity to review projects that will affect their quality of life. Both of these exemption requests presume that these projects will result in quality of life improvements due to reduced emissions, but without an environmental review, these claims can't be demonstrated nor verified.
Okay. Thank you for those comments. RMA, is there a response to that?
Mike Washington, RMA Associate Director. I think we need to first take them separately, one project by, for 14 in the Goshen plan, it is a ministerial approval. It is allowed. I think there might be some confusion. There is no dairy going there. There is no manure going there. It's simply an upgrading facility for gas. There's a gas pipeline. There's some processing done inside of a plant, and the gas goes on. So there is nothing to do with manure or anything. It's from dairy gas that's being piped in, and then it will be cleaned up, and then it will be put into the Southern California Gases pipeline. So that's that part. It's allowed under the community plan, and allowed under the zoning. It's simply a ministerial approval. We're going there because the reason we brought it forward is because there was another project going on the same site. It's the contractor storage yard that's going on the same site, and we will have an encroachment agreement with the developer for the pipeline as it goes under Road 68. 68, under Road 68. So, and that will come back before your board for approval of that as well. So anyway, that particular item is completely ministerial. It's just a gas processing plant. It has nothing to do with dairies and the aspects of that. And it's approved and allowed under both the Goshen plan and the zoning. So,
okay, thank you. Any questions or comments of staff related to item 14? Okay, the chair will entertain a motion. Go ahead, Supervisor Valero.
So I just wanted to clarify, is that kind of your understanding with regards to what was just mentioned by that there was kind of a misunderstanding?
No, I know there's going to be no dairy there. I know.
Blanca, would you please come up to a microphone if you're going to?
Wanted to know under what permitted uses it fell under, because we didn't see it under permitted uses B.
Aaron will be able to pull that up.
And just as a matter of clarification, Aaron Bach, Assistant Director, actually, if you read in the Goshen Community Plan, the digester facilities themselves are permitted by right. So the upgrading facility being a much less use would even be more so permitted by, less intense use would be more so permitted by right.
Okay, thank you. So we do have a motion by Supervisor Crocker, second by Supervisor Townsend. Please cast your vote. All right, Supervisor Crocker, you have a request to speak? Okay. All right. The motion passes unanimously, 5-0. Next, we'll take up item 18.
I will defer to Aaron on some of the specifics on this as he worked closely. Just say that this is a project that we've been under consideration for a couple of years. The EDC had brought this project forward, and the applicants are dealing at the state level on a number of permits. Again, this is an environmentally friendly, improving the overall quality type of a project, but this has been under planning for a while, and I know it's close and part of working with the city of Lindsay. We have representatives from the city here as well that can discuss it further, but I'll let Aaron take over.
This is a public benefits project. It's actually taking some of the emissions that would normally come from a wastewater treatment plant and other processes and turning them to a useful source in the form of hydrogen. So there is really no negative impact from this project, and we've been asked to work with the city very closely to get this done, and also with Ergotech themselves, who are in line for grant funding. So this categorical exemption was really to help them out to get to the grant funding. But outside of that, the county itself, as far as an upgrading facility, it was upgrading the emissions that were coming off the wastewater treatment plant and looking to other sources of feedstock as, again, a public benefit project to upgrade these gases to be used for a energy source.
Any additional comments from the city of Lindsay? Okay. Any questions, comments from board members? Supervisor Crocker?
I'm just happy to support this and the other. I think it's really important that we maximize the resources that we have, supporting our dairy industry, supporting our cities, and making sure that we're providing additional value. Earlier today, SoCal Gas revealed an incentive program that Western Milling is taking advantage of in Goshen because of Air Board incentives as well as utility incentives, and getting more renewable natural gas. They're going to have their entire fleet will shift to renewable natural gas. They're going to be building a new fueling station off of Betty Drive that is only happening because of the improvements we've done to Betty Drive, the intersection. All of these things are very beneficial, and that's been a long-standing policy that we've been supportive of renewable natural gas, and I think these two things are just another step forward to helping to help our dairy industry and create a few more jobs. So I'm happy to move to approve.
Okay, any additional questions or comments from board members? Okay, so we have a motion by Supervisor Crocker, a second by Supervisor Shucklian. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously, 5-0. Thank you. Next, we will take up item 19, which is a request from the General Services Agency to receive a presentation on an upcoming Pixley Park Safety Day and Community Service event, and approve the installation of a disc golf course at Pixley Park. Daniel.
Good afternoon, Daniel Richardson, General Services Agency Director. It is exciting to come before you to present this proposal. We are going to talk about a safety day that's going to be happening. Also going to talk about an installation of a disc golf course, also a grant application. I'll have a conclusion at the end. So first of all, I want to invite up Nick Tettleton. He's a Pixley Middle School advisor who's going to talk about this community safety day and an event that he's planned with some of his students to help fix up Pixley Park. So, Mr. Tettleton.
Thank you. First of all, I appreciate all of your time. If you just give me a few moments. At the beginning of the school year, we approached our 8th grade students and we asked them to consider a larger scale community service project instead of individual endeavors. Most had no idea what we meant, and those who did understand did not know why we would ask them to consider a community-based project. This started a conversation about their community, what it currently is, and what they would like their town to be. This is what we learned. Pixley has a population of just over 3,300. Only 29% of people over the age of 25 have some sort of high school equivalent education. 71% are considered dropouts. 1% has a bachelor's degree or higher. 38.3% live below the poverty line, and the average household income is about $32,500. These, to me, seem to be stark numbers. But what shocked me the most was how little this information affected our kids, our students. It was and is their norm. So we began to discuss what they wanted in their community. They spoke about new stores, restaurants, bowling alleys, movie theaters. At first, it sounded as though teenagers wanted mainstream commercial entertainment. But we dug deeper. What we ultimately uncovered was that these kids wanted a safe place. They wanted a clean place. They want to be surrounded by good people. While we briefly discussed economic stimulation, how success seems to attract more success, the students formed the opinion that the community they envision could be created by being that mechanism of change. After further discussion, the students came up with two major priorities. The first was that the whole community needs to become involved to generate interest. The second revolved around the idea that this community-wide interest needed to be anchored at a common and respected location. Pixley Park was on the top of a short list with one exception. An undesirable social element was beginning to make the park unsafe and unwelcoming. The park was no longer where families went to enjoy an outdoor venue, but the students believed that with help, the community could reclaim their resource. A group of students visited the park, identified a few needs, and decided there were a task that they did have control over and could take ownership of. After prioritizing, the students believed they could help improve the reputation of the park by painting, filling in holes and depressions in the grassy areas, and removing graffiti from the play structures. This was their initial scope. In early November, we reached out to Supervisor Vanderpool's office on behalf of the students. His office, with Ms. Montero, helped establish this relatively foreign idea to our organization as a legitimate endeavor. And the Good Works donation generated a tremendous amount of support and excitement. This made the project concrete and real. This contact led to an introduction with the County Parks Department, where Ms. Zaragoza has been a tremendous asset through connections and logistics, and I really cannot say enough about her contributions. This led to a meeting with Mr. Pilligar, who would help give our project further definition and focus. As I said earlier, success encourages more success. Through the contributions of the people and organizations I just mentioned, we do not just have a group of kids making a statement about reclaiming their community. We have the entire community making this statement. On February 22nd, between 8:30 and 2, we have 82 students signed up and committed to put sweat equity into Pixley Park. But through organizing this effort, we have also developed a safety day and conservation fair designed to educate young children on ways to stay safe in their community. Our current list of partners include the Tulare County Sheriff's Department, who's graciously volunteered to have deputies, the boat unit, patrol drones, and possibly an appearance by Busby, the Lower Tule River Irrigation District, who's bringing pipeline inspection equipment, survey drones, and outreach materials, so we think of a connection with STEM education, the Southern California Edison, Tulare County Fire Department, Pixley Medical Clinic, Tulare County Health and Human Services Alcohol and Substance Abuse Prevention Program, Tule Trash with their outreach and conservation booth. And while I'd be proud of the students if these two things were done in isolation or independent of each other, they're not. This is now a multifaceted event. This is now an event that is tying into our community service group through the Step Up program led by Mrs. Lopez. This is an event that is supporting school-wide measures initiated by Mr. Munoz to have students lead a conservation movement regarding electrical, solid waste, and water usage. This turned into an opportunity for a GATE and STEAM class to make a documentary for the Tulare County Office of Education's Slick Rock Film Festival. I see 6th and 7th graders becoming involved in planning so they can continue on with these relationships in future years, sustaining improvement and growth and continued maintenance for this infrastructure development. This is an event that has furthered a relationship between the school and the community, the school and the Parks Department, and the kids with building positive connections with those immediately around them. This has become a holistic approach to student development Principal Cortez has talked about. However, it does not stop there. We are fostering relationships with Woodville and Tipton to support each other in future community service projects. We are trying to generate support with the local Frisbee Golf Club, the Flying Monkeys, as well as being part of building a Frisbee golf course at Pixley Park. We are including these activities as part of practical and real-world experience for student education. We're developing perpetual financial strength through an account with Friends of Tulare County for future projects. And hopefully we are teaching our students to take ownership of their situation and to improve it, if that is something they see a need to do. As I look over this event, I see the potential. I see interest being generated in the park, which should attract visitors, along with special events like Frisbee golf tournaments that generate quality, well-intentioned visitors. And I think about the economic effects. I think about local restaurants generating more revenue, which encourages new restaurants, shops, and industry. I think of tax dollars being created rather than tax dollars being used as a sort of Band-Aid. I see this generation of kids being that vehicle of change they only thought was possible as a lofty goal instead of as a probability. Thank you.
any comments? I know that I have a comment, Nick. Thank you for that very detailed letter. I think this is a great project, and as soon as it was brought up that this was something that the middle school was considering, we wanted to help in any way that we could to help you gain the traction that obviously you've built up. And we know that the youth in our communities have a real pride and desire to see their communities flourish and grow. And need to just have that channel sometimes. And you've definitely been able to do that. And there are projects like this in our unincorporated communities that really do make them better places to live and to grow and to be educated. And I do see this as an opportunity in Pixley to create an attraction, to create a venue that not only the youth in the community, the families in the community can enjoy, but folks from around surrounding areas can come to also learn about Pixley and invest in Pixley through spending some time there and different efforts that will be undertaken as a result of visiting. So thank you for your efforts. We're happy to help, and I do think that this is a very, very positive step for the community, and look forward to working with you on future projects. And you take individual class assignments to individual students, and you may end up with a great, scrapbook at the end of the year, but when you channel all those efforts into one, you can accomplish something like the transformation of the Pixley Park. And one thing that I always try to advocate for and remind this board of is we have some beautiful parks in this county. Predominantly the parks that come to mind are Mooney Grove Park and Balch Park, but one thing we always have to remember is that it's not just those parks. There's parks throughout the county that the county is responsible for that need our investment and need our effort. And it's really nice to see that we're able to leverage an investment that we as a county can make in collaboration with the community and really come out with a positive outcome like we're seeing here. So thank you very much. I'm really, really excited for this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir.
No, thanks for being here today.
And Chair Vanderpool, I also want to recognize that Mr. Tettleton brought some of the students with him today. I'd like if they could stand up and we could acknowledge their efforts in this. So.
Sure.
If I could, we have Addie, she's on the far right. We have Garrett, we have Zelena and Angie, and these are de facto leaders in the school. They're not here because they really just helped with the project, but these are the kids happen across the board in so many different projects, including this one, the Step Up program, Conservation HD, which has to do with water resources, as well as solid waste and saving. So we're really trying to find as many ways.
Yeah.
So we have those financial assets available for future use.
Yeah. Well, thank you, kids. Thank you for coming today.
Just finishing up real briefly, here's a picture of our Pixley Golf proposed disc golf course. I do have Andy Parkinson with Visalia Disc Golf Club, the president. He just wants to say a few words about how what their role is in installing this new golf course and how it's all going to work together.
Hi, thank you, supervisors, for having us. I want to say thank you for all your hard work. I'm a local business owner and the president of the Tulare County Disc Golf Club. I heard you talk about the homeless situation. It's a real issue. I want to say that we've noticed the efforts to better the situation, and being the club is constantly at the parks. We've noticed a difference, and we want to say thank you for the efforts. We appreciate that. I also shared with you an article that was done about our disc golf club to show the efforts that we've made for the community and the impact that we've had. I've left contact information if you'd like to know more or get more involved in it. We just want to say thank you, Nick, for having us be a part of the Pixie program. We're happy to donate any materials and the time it takes to get it done, and we're happy to be a part of it.
I have a question, Andy.
Yep.
So is this course going to be like tournament level? I mean, could they have tournaments there? Junior tournaments?
Absolutely.
Anything to bring folks into the Pixley area and help out?
When you talk about tournaments, the club has brought different levels of tournaments on a national level, on a regional level, and on a local level. From the kids event, we hosted the largest juniors event in the history of the sport here in Tulare County, bringing 216 kids to come out and experience the park and play all for free, no expense to them. If they couldn't make it, we didn't want it to be because of money. So we made a huge impact there. The tournaments level that you speak of, weekly events, smaller local level events are what we plan on. More of a national, regional level, probably not. This being a smaller 9-hole course, more kid-friendly. We didn't want to make it extremely hard and be discouraging. We believe that it's really funny. Kids know how to keep score. And the sooner they can get another score, the more interested they are. So as fast as we can get them a score, they want to get another one and get another one. So we thought it was important to create a kid-friendly, beginner-friendly course to where it's not only for the kids, but families. Every Saturday we go to Mooney's and do a family day. So we would get involved, not just the kids, but the moms and the dads. So this is a good place and a good entry-level course to do that.
Cool.
So on a high-level tournament, probably not. On a low-level local stuff, absolutely.
Great. Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
Supervisor Townsend, do you get some disc golf information?
No, it's okay. I'm just going to jump back a little bit, but including that, I had actually pushed the button because I just wanted to say, on behalf of the middle schoolers, getting this thing going. Thought that was really an incredible thing to start. We've seen similar things in some of the other parks, as our chairman mentioned, and when it starts at that level, with the community level, and starts to build up from there, it seems to work the best because of limited resources everywhere. So I just wanted to commend everybody that has pitched in to just do the cleanups and to get the project going, and it's going to be an important asset, and the disc golf will be a lot of fun, and I'm glad you clarified that that wasn't just for kids, but for beginners, because I probably would have had a hard time with the longer one too.
Yes, sir.
But thank you.
All right, Supervisor Valero, you want to make any comments?
Yes, I'll just say that all it takes sometimes is a vehicle, i.e. Step Up, or an individual to spark that change in community. And I am pleased to see this project come to fruition with the support and help of our youth. Many times it actually even starts with our youth identifying a need and then making sure that that is worked on. And so I just want to applaud you all. And then also I noticed that you have your Harvesting Hope shirts. So I wanted to know if you participated in Harvesting Hope already as well. Have you? Previous years. Oh, previous years? Okay. Well, like I said, Harvesting Hope is another organization where youth can go out and really harvest the fruits to give back to places like Food Link as well as the Visalia Emergency Council. So again, continue to do great work and continue to lead at your middle school.
Okay, back.
Great. And the final item, we'll say this is not all. We would like to also get your authorization to put in a grant application through Proposition 68 for Pixley Park. So we'll do this initial service day, and then following that, we're hopeful that we will be successful in this Proposition 68, where we can put in significant money in improving Pixley Park for the long run. And it does not require any matching funds. We just want your authorization so we can move forward with the community meetings where we scope and learn what they want us to do at the park in the long run. So with that, we recommend approval of this Pixley Park Safety Day, of the disc golf course, the approved CEQA, and as well as us pursuing this grant application. Thank you.
Okay, anything further? I guess Supervisor Valero wants another bite at the apple. Go for it.
The funding. Do you know the status on the previous application that you submitted for Goshen Park? Has that been notified by the state?
I believe we're still waiting on the results of that
Still
grant
waiting on that.
application. Yes.
Okay.
Try to draw the attention away from Pixley
No,
Park
I'm
at
just
this time.
trying.
We're talking about Pixley here, buddy. You know, let's keep the focus. Keep the focus. Okay. Do we have a motion or direction from the board? Okay, we have a motion from Supervisor Townsend, a second by Supervisor Shucklian. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Very exciting. Look forward to seeing this course come to fruition and really the kickoff of investing in the Pixley Park. I think that you also can have a fun time, Mr. Tettleton, explaining to the kids what the Prop 68 grant is and what those processes will potentially yield for the park in the future. So thank you for coming in. Thank you, kids, for coming today. Hope this was more fun than school this afternoon. All right, we'll now move on and take up item 20, which is a request from the Health and Human Services Agency to adopt a resolution redirecting the County of Tullare's Homeless Housing Assistance and Prevention Program allocation to the Kings Tulare Homeless Alliance for the purposes of grant administration and making the funding available to local cities and homeless service providers through a competitive grant application. You're supposed to start, Chaz. These sentences are really long in these descriptions.
I do apologize for
Okay,
that. I
you're
deal
good.
with the same thing, yeah. So good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, CEO, and County Council. Again, I'm Chaz Felix, Homeless Initiatives Program Coordinator with Health and Human Services. Thanks again for the chance to discuss a program that we're pretty excited for, which is the Homeless Housing Assistance and Prevention Program, or HAP, just to make things a little easier for everyone here. HAP is a new grant program for homeless activities that the county is eligible for direct allocation from the state. So I think this discussion ties in pretty well to last week's item on adopting the homeless plan. So now we have a plan, we can start thinking about how we're going to finance some of the activities within the plan. Well, certainly no one program or grant can finance the broad range of homeless activities that are out there. But HAP, as you'll hear, can be part of that equation. And with assistance from our great partners at the Kings Tulare Homeless Alliance, who is the local COC and also does great work to address local homelessness, we're excited to coordinate with them to make things easier for those who want to access this funding for local homeless projects. So with that, just in terms of the overview, I'll get a bit into HAP and its key details. I'll touch on our proposed use, which again is to pool our allocation with the Homeless Alliance's allocation in a coordinated local competition for funding and why we think that's the best approach. Then I'll go over some of the types of activities we anticipate funding through this opportunity and end with a brief timeline for some next steps. So just for a little bit of some background. Again, HAP is a one-time block grant from the State Homeless Coordinating and Financing Council for what the state describes as immediate homelessness challenges, which I think is intentionally broad to provide some flexibility within the program. I think the state has found, especially with the 2018's Homeless Emergency Aid Program, that flexibility works. Different jurisdictions have different needs, and so the more flexibility we have, I think the better results we're going to have. So we're pleased that HAP has that spirit as well. So I think in a lot of ways, HAP is the de facto replacement for HEAP as the flexible homeless block grant, except this time around, counties are eligible for a direct application, and that was not the case with HEAP. So the funding breakdown we have there is that counties, continuum of cares, and large cities are all eligible for direct allocations. But this kind of illustrates the point I think it was Supervisor Shuckley made last week that some jurisdictions are just eligible for more funding. So smaller jurisdictions like Tulare County kind of have to fight for the scraps of what's left behind. It just really illustrates the importance of acting strategically with these opportunities. So just in terms of what can be funded with this program, again, the theme here is flexibility. It's a pretty broad range of activities, with the caveat being that these all must be evidence-based solutions, which the state outlines, but include some things like rental assistance, operating expenses for emergency shelters and supportive housing, landlord incentives, outreach, homeless system supports, innovations in permanent housing solutions, or things like hotel conversions, homeless prevention, and also new funding for shelters. So clearly there's a wide range of potential activities that can be funded through this opportunity with a lot of overlap with our homeless plan, so we think that's a really good thing. Additionally, a small amount of funding up there must be used for meeting specific needs of our homeless youth, which was identified as an area focused within the homeless strategic plan, and who, as some of you here might know, is a traditionally difficult population to reach and connect with our services, so we think that's a really good thing. Altogether, there's been about $2 million allocated between the county and the Homeless Alliance through this program, which has some fast approaching key dates. So applications for this program are due 2/15, which I believe is this week, and funding is scheduled to be dispersed 60 days after applications are submitted, so that's a pretty quick turnaround. One of the more unique features of this program that we haven't seen in the other grant programs at this point is this built-in option for direct recipients to redirect their allocation to another jurisdiction. I think this is a reflection of the fact that the state's pretty aware that some jurisdictions or some organizations are in a better position to administer this types of funding. at our core, I think the county is a service provider, and that's our role in the grand scheme of things with the local homeless response. But luckily, we have organizations like the King Tulare Homeless Alliance where that's their core function. They're the system administrators, not the service providers. So given that, in the spirit of letting the experts do what their expertise is in, we are recommending for this opportunity to allocate our allocation to the Homeless Alliance for administration of this funding and also to create a local competition to distribute these funds. So why go this route? Like, what's the purpose of this pool? We have a couple of reasons why we think this is a good idea. Starting for the fact that the Homeless Alliance is designated as the local continuum of care, and a core function of the continuum of care is to administer local funding. So in other words, it's just what they do, and just based on our experience with them, we think they do a pretty good job with that. The Homeless Alliance itself has over a decade of experience in this role, and its role has really increased tremendously in recent years. With new programs like HEAP, as I mentioned, and the California Emergency Solutions and Housing program, which specifically earmarked the COC to receive these funds. So I think this is kind of reflective of a paradigm shift from the state that kind of identifies the COC as the backbone for local homeless efforts for a number of reasons, including the fact that they have their relationships with the service providers. They have the knowledge of the ins and outs of these programs, and they're really in the best position to serve as the hub for local efforts. And so we think by pulling our allocations, we can improve coordination and make sure we aren't duplicating efforts, and also come to an agreement on goals and priorities we want to see funded and supported through this opportunity. We certainly don't want to run into a scenario where we're both independently funding same activities by different organizations, which would just be a tremendous waste of resources. Ultimately, I think we need to make sure our resources are aligned to maximize efficiencies, and we think this avenue, this way going about it is the best way to maximize that opportunity. So, just all this talk about pooling and combining resources might seem a little bit abstract. So just what helps me visualize it, I like to compare it to a jigsaw puzzle, where if you think of addressing homelessness as the puzzle itself and grants like HAP and HEAP and different things like that as individual pieces, pooling funds helps ensure that all your puzzle pieces are in the same spot. So you know exactly where to find the pieces. You don't have to look here for some pieces. You don't have to look there for some pieces. You don't have to look other locations for the rest of the pieces. They're all in the same spot. Addressing homelessness, nonetheless, is still going to be very challenging, but to the extent possible, those interested will have to devote less time to finding these specific pieces and have more time available to create different projects and efforts that better reflect the needs of our community. So, a good thing is that we've actually pooled funding with the Homeless Alliance previously to really promising results. Last year, we worked with the Homeless Alliance to create a local competition called the Integrated Pool for Homeless Initiatives Locally, or PHIL, as we jokingly call it, through which county homeless mentally ill outreach and treatment program was made available with different Homeless Alliance funding that was allocated directly to them through a one-stop shop platform. Through this pool, we were able to fund 2 first-of-their-kind projects. One is one that Supervisor Shuckley mentioned today, Eden House, which is a bridge housing project in Visalia, and also an emergency shelter / bridge housing project in Porterville called the Porterville Welcome Center. And just through this process, I was really impressed with how this opportunity brought folks together who traditionally haven't worked together to come up with new ideas and new opportunities. So in Porterville, for example, city staff worked directly with Turning Point, a service provider, and also the school district to conceptualize this really great project and are ultimately funding for this opportunity. So again, with limited available resources, establishing local homeless projects can definitely take multiple funding sources. So I think the easier we make things for accessing these funding opportunities for interested parties, the greater chance we will have for quality projects that meet the needs of our community. And that's exactly what we're trying to establish through this opportunity. So even if we have the right platform for this, we need to make sure that we're funding the right types of projects. In general, I think our overarching objective is to make sure this funding available to cities and service providers to implement activities within the homeless strategic plan. But even within the plan's broad landscape, we wanted to identify the specific types of activities we should prioritize funding through this opportunity. So the intent here, just to emphasize, is definitely not just to supplement the Homeless Alliance's budget, but to fund some of the most pressing homeless needs within the community. So to figure out what exactly these were, we reached out directly to the community through both the Task Force on Homelessness and the Homeless Alliances Network, who identified 4 top priorities up there. Landlord incentives to participate in homeless programs, operating subsidies to ensure existing homeless programs are able to continue and operate, funding for increased outreach and coordination efforts, and finally, system supports to ensure responses to homelessness are efficient and coordinated. Just to emphasize, this is not to say that these are the only types of projects that can be funded through this opportunity. Those requirements themselves are specifically outlined by the state in program guidelines. But this just is a general guide for applicants that these are the types of projects that we're hoping to see, that we're hoping to fund, and that will be taken into account when we decide what the final awards are going to be. So again, just a caveat, I think we're thrilled that the state created this new program to fund local opportunities, but it's important to keep in mind that this is not a silver bullet or a panacea. It's just basically a one-time block grant that's replacing another block grant that ended. So there's still definitely the need for ongoing support and funding for homeless efforts. So just in terms of next steps, we plan on working hand in hand with the Homeless Alliance to actually design this local competition for receiving applications for funding. We don't want it to be the type of thing where we just redirect the funding and that's the end of the story. That's the last thing we want. We want to make sure that we can help set benchmarks and expectations of any organization receiving our funding, and make sure that our allocation are used specifically for projects only within Tulare County, which is what we did last time through Phil. We hope to have this competition out in April this year, with the projects awarded sometime in the middle of the year. Just in terms of next steps, a ranking and rating committee will be formed to score and award projects, and the county will be part of that committee, so we'll definitely have a say in terms of which projects are funded. Lastly, we hope to include requirements for funded organizations to provide reports on us on project outcomes to make sure that we keep track of the results of our funding, and we'd be happy to report those results to you at a later date. But just in terms for our request, we have an additional item to add in there, which is to authorize the chair to sign the attached resolution regarding the intent to redirect the program allocation in addition to the request outlined here. So as always, thank you again for your continued support of local homeless efforts, and at this point, I'm happy to take any questions or feedback.
Just a quick question before I get to Supervisor Shucklin. I was just concerned, and you mentioned it in one of your final sentences, about making sure that these projects that are awarded are only in Tulare County. I'm all about collaboration, regional efforts, but Kings County is going to be competing for their own, or they will have their own allocation from the small scraps that we're all left with. Right. But I want to make sure that these funds designated for Tulare County benefit Tulare County organizations and affect the Tulare County homeless problem. And from what you said, directing these funds to the Kings Tulare Homeless Alliance will not compromise that.
Absolutely. That was one of the first stipulations they agreed to, and when we started these conversations, so absolutely no dollar, no cent will go to any project in Kings County. It's going to be specifically for Tulare County projects.
Great, thank you. Supervisor Shucklin?
Hi, Chaz. Thank you for that update and thorough report. I kind of had a question like that also, but the 1.2 that the Alliance is getting, is that a split? Is part of that going to Kings County?
That's a bi-county. That's what they got for the bi-county region.
Yeah.
So they haven't.
So what's the split? How much of that does Kings County get, and how much do we get roughly?
I think it's about 80-20, where we're going to get 80% of that.
Okay. And then, yeah, I just wanted to also say, as far as our allocation of the $890,000 will stay in Tulare County. It won't go into that pool for the 80-20 split.
Exactly.
Also, can this money be used for any capital projects? Say, you know, if there's an organization, a nonprofit that may be building a low barrier shelter, can this money go into helping to build?
That's a great question, and those are actually two of the outlined uses within the program. Both capital expenses for emergency shelters, navigation centers, and also what they call innovation housing projects, which includes things like hotel conversions or motel conversions, which I think are increasingly looked at across the country as a viable option for supportive housing projects. So this can be used for that. So just in terms of that, if there's an interested jurisdiction, an interested city, or an interested developer, they could come together, conceptualize a project, and try to use this as a piece of the puzzle for putting a project like that together.
Okay. I think that's great, because that's something that we are lacking, is some type of an emergency low-barrier shelter. I think the projects are great, the self-help, the Sequoia Commons and the Eden House, but we need more than that, so it's good to
Absolutely.
know that we can use that. Thank you.
Definitely.
Are there any additional comments from board members? Comments or questions? Members of the public? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Chaz, for the presentation, and Chair will entertain a motion.
Approval of the item.
By Supervisor Shuckley and a second by Supervisor Valero. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We will now move back to our agenda and take up item 23, which is, 21. Board members may make a referral to staff to have a matter of business be considered for a future agenda. Is there any such request from any of my colleagues? I do have one. I would like to have us be proactive in getting in front of the EDC renewal of the county membership. It is my understanding that there has been a significant change to the funding formula, and I just want to make sure that we aren't crammed at the last minute with a decision, and want to make sure we're able to fully vet and have the conversations that we need to in the coming weeks or months. So that's just an item I'd bring up. And if there's nothing further, Council, I will look to you. Do we have need for closed session?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we do. Item A is off calendar. Items B and C will be heard in closed session, but I do not expect any announcements out.
All right. Thank you for attending today's board meeting. Have a great week, and buy lots of sandwiches at the farm show.